Well, you've got a bit of a bone to pick this week with the IMF, it seems. I know that you wrote yesterday quite provocatively that they'd got it wrong about China when they said that growth this year could fall to as low as 4%. So what's the problem?
I think they are really overestimating the European contagion risk for China. One, global trade are more balanced than before, so we are not in the very overheated global trade environment like 2007. And secondly, the Chinese economy also looks a lot more balanced from external and internal demand.
So they're basically saying that Europe is the biggest risk for China, and you're saying that trade is much less of a problem than it used to be. I mean, it's a smaller share of GDP, right? In fact, it was a negative share of GDP last year.
Yeah, it was a negative contribution to the GDP. Some people may argue that it's the whole exports, not net exports, that matters, because that's really what drives jobs. But even by that metrics, China is also less reliant on export jobs.
Got it. So what is the problem with China? Because it seems to me there are lots of things to worry about this year, and we've talked a lot here about property, that kind of thing, government debt. Like, what are the things that we really should be looking for? What should the IMF be focusing on more intently?
There are three risks that the IMF didn't really take very seriously. One is the local government debt, which will be a peak year for them repayment. And secondly, is the property, as you were mentioning. And the third, it could be government debt. Third could be the bank debt problem.
So the banks have been making lots of loans that could go bad.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the risks are really inside rather than outside China's economy at the moment.
Absolutely. I think by saying the risks that are outside, IMF really pleases Beijing because Beijing would like to think the problems are not our problems.
But also, hasn't the IMF got another agenda potentially? Because the IMF, of course, is trying to rustle up money, right, for the Eurozone. Do you think that has any effect on what they're saying?
Well, I don't want to predict their intentions, but we have written about what China actually need to care about Europe, but just playing up the European contagion risk isn't the right thing to do just to get China to care about Europe's problems.
So the IMF really needs to go back to school and understand the Chinese economy from the inside.